This is Judd Collins, and I'm sitting here with Billie Jean Parker, sister of Bonnie Parker. Our purpose is to learn the truth about Bonnie and Clyde. You've heard, seen, and been told many things about the lives of Bonnie and Clyde, and here we will find out the truth. The facts about these two people from the one person who really knows. I might add that Billie Jean Parker served time for harboring and aiding Bonnie and Clyde. She was sentenced to a year in prison for this. Billie Jean was with Bonnie and Clyde off and on throughout their careers, and she knew them better than anybody. Billie Jean, having heard so much about your sister and her sweetheart, let me begin by asking you what sort of girl was Bonnie Parker?
Bonnie was, she had a wonderful personality. She was a kind person.
Having known her so well, were you surprised that she had such a tragic and sensational life?
Was I surprised? Yes.
There have been some differing stories about how she met Clyde. Tell us how these two people really got together.
We had a very good friend, and she had an accident. She broke her arm. Bonnie wasn't working at the time, so she went out to take care of the lady. And she met Clyde through this lady. Clyde was a friend of the lady. And they started going together. They went together for maybe a month or so. And Clyde went to the penitentiary. I don't know how long he got. Maybe 2 years.
Why was he sent to the penitentiary?
He had, well, he was just a boy that was, it was during the Depression. And I guess he was, figured that he was denied a lot of things that other boys had. I think he started maybe stealing hubcaps.
Were these two people ever married?
No.
What did your parents think about this romance?
My mother, she, at that time, Bonnie had a mind of her own. Mother didn't like her going with Clyde after Clyde had been in penitentiary. But, as I say, Bonnie was in love with Clyde. They were in love with each other.
Was Clyde a bad man?
Clyde wasn't a bad man, no.
What set him off? What triggered his bad moments?
Well, he made this one mistake. He went to the penitentiary. He served his time. He came out. Clyde started to work. At that time, it was during the Depression. And each time that something happened, the police went to Clyde's jobs. Well, after so many times there, on the job, question him, he would lose that job. Time after time, and jobs were scarce. Clyde just finally gave up.
Well, what do you think Bonnie and Clyde really wanted out of life?
Well, they wanted what anyone else, any other two people that were in love, they wanted to live right. They wanted to be married, live right. But seemed like this happened, everything happened just all at once. And they went so far that they were afraid that they couldn't, give up. Bonnie wanted, we talked to her so many times, and I begged her to give up. She didn't want to put my mother through all of the, going through trials and this and that for the things that she had been accused of. She didn't think she had a chance.
Was Clyde the sort of man that you could have loved?
Yes, Clyde was a likable person, and he was good to her. You know what I mean? After they started out and all, his main thoughts were of her.
Was this a serious love affair?
It was. It was.
It wasn't just a physical attraction?
No, it wasn't.
Were they the sort of people who had ambitions for a family?
Yes.
Do you think, had they lived, that they could have ever adjusted to normal life?
Sure.
Who were the people closest to Bonnie and Clyde?
Well, Bonnie and I were always close. That's why I was with them so many times. And whenever she was sick, I went, regardless of where it was.
Did they have many friends?
No,
Did Clyde have any personal friends?
they didn't trust anybody.
Did they trust you?
They trusted me, yes.
What sort of hobbies did they have?
They couldn't have too many hobbies. I mean, everything, they were confined, you know. They went to movies once in a while, not often. They couldn't go to restaurants, hotels. They lived the biggest part of the time out in the woods.
Do you have any idea what set off this desire for money that Clyde must have had?
Depression.
Would Clyde have been successful in a business?
I believe so.
What were his talents?
Well, he was musically inclined.
What about his education?
Not much education.
And how about Bonnie's education?
I think Bonnie went through the 10th grade.
Did they have a desire to travel other than as fugitives?
No.
Were Bonnie's taste in clothes any different from the other girls?
No.
How about her hairstyles?
Well, you know, at that time, you went to the beauty shop when you got a permanent. And then you did your hair. She kept her hair, you know, fixed nice all the time, even under those conditions.
So she was a girl with a certain amount of pride.
Yes, yes. They were always clean. They had good clothes.
Was Clyde a good dresser?
Yes, he was.
Billie Jean, what sort of religious background did Bonnie have?
When we were all at home, we went to church, Sunday school, every Sunday. We walked 3 miles. My mother would take us. There was nothing wrong with her background. There was nothing wrong with. It was just one of those things that she fell in love with him. And
You're saying then that if Bonnie had not met Clyde, she probably would be alive and a well-adjusted person today.
yes,
Billie Jean, did you ever travel with them?
yes, I was with him for one time 3 weeks, and then a lot of times that they would come home and maybe she would say, "Oh, I wish you could go with us. I get so lonesome to talk about home." And then I would go, maybe for 2 or 3 days. We'd get our talk over. And whenever she was sick several times, and I went to her each time.
Was she afraid at that time?
She was afraid, yes.
Were you afraid when you traveled with them?
I was afraid I never was really afraid, only that something would happen to her. For myself, I wasn't too, I guess because I was a kid.
Was Clyde pretty nervous all the time?
No, he wasn't nervous.
Did you ever stay at a motel with them?
Oh, yes, we stayed in motels when we had money. And all the time we didn't have money. And I remember once that there were 6 of us. And we couldn't get